Warm greetings from the Haitians, everyday shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. This is a 3-part compilation video on said information and updates pertaining to stories I've brought you in the past. The first story is pertaining to Mr. Rittenhouse, Kyle Rittenhouse. Yahoo News is the source. Judge disallows other acts evidence in Kyle Rittenhouse trial. A Wisconsin judge denied requests by both prosecutors and defenders to submit certain evidence for the jury trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, a teenager charged with fatally shooting 2 people and wounding a third during the riots after the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, August 2020. At the pretrial hearing Friday, Kenosha County Circuit Judge Bruce Schroeder told prosecutors they could not use other acts evidence to argue Rittenhouse was essentially acting as a teenage vigilante. Rittenhouse, now 18, argued he was acting in self-defense and pleaded not guilty to all charges. Prosecutors submitted 3 instances of video and photographic evidence of other acts that allegedly show Rittenhouse's history of violence and desire to carry out vigilante justice. One was a video from June 2020 that shows him hitting a girl who was fighting with his sister, and another was January photos of him posing with the members of the far-right militia group, the Proud Boys. The third instance was a video of him taken 2 weeks before the shootings outside a CVS with a friend watching people exit, whom Rittenhouse seemed to think were looters and says he wished he had his gun on him. The judge decided he would disallow the first 2 pieces of evidence and held off on deciding on the CVS video but leaned heavily against it. He reasoned that all 3 incidents were likely too dissimilar from the shootings and would improperly suggest that because Rittenhouse did or said something else distasteful, he had the propensity to kill people, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Schroeder also rejected elements of the defense's evidence having to do with the criminal background of Joseph Rosenbaum, one of Rittenhouse's victims. Rosenbaum was a convicted child molester, which the defense allegedly may have motivated him to take Rittenhouse's gun because he couldn't legally purchase one himself. We don't want the jury to decide this was justified because he got a pedophile off the streets, said Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger, one of the prosecutors. Additionally, Schroeder declined to dismiss the misdemeanor charge. Tongue-tied there. Additionally, Schroeder declined to dismiss the misdemeanor charge of a minor possessing a firearm, as Rittenhouse was 17 at the time of the shooting, and he upheld the November 1st trial date. Very interesting information. I'm wondering why they dismissed that, the misdemeanor charge, because he still was a minor with a gun and crossed state lines, and his mother willingly took him over there. She had to have known what he was going to do. It's a very baffling case. Damn near predictable, really, because you have people like this. I call them Captain Saberhose. You have a lot of people like this. They're always immersing themselves in things. They always want to be an eyewitness. They always want to give an account of something. They always got something to say. They're always intervening in things pertaining to other people, jumping in people's personal business, conversations, altercations. You have to know when to lie in the cut and be still and say nothing. Perhaps call law officials and not intervene on your own, because you then too can get hurt. And there are a lot of people like this. And you see this with a lot of sociopaths. They always want to intervene. They always want to be in law enforcement. They will settle for security jobs because they can't become a cop. We've seen that in many instances of such behavior as this. I'll settle for whatever just so I can appear that I'm in charge. I have some clout about myself. And that's what I see with Rittenhouse. He wanted to be somebody important because he was all over the place on that said night. And someone said that to him. Hey, I thought I just saw you over here guarding the cars. What are you doing over here now shooting at civilians? So you were all over the place. You put yourself in harm's way by being all over the place because you wanted to be Captain Saberhole. And that's my public opinion pertaining to Rittenhouse. That's a sad information by Yahoo News. His mother is also complicit. My next update is pertaining to this mass migration of Haitians in Texas. It's a very weird situation going on out there, and I don't know how these Haitians got to be under this bridge in Texas. It's very strange, but anyway, I'm going to bring you this information. NPR is the source. Biden administration plans mass deportation of Haitian migrants in Del Rio, Texas. The Department of Homeland Security will begin deporting planes full of Haitian migrants as soon as Sunday to discourage more border crossers from streaming into a camp in South Texas. And mind you, this was uploaded September 18th. The plan outlined by the Department of Homeland Security is meant to relieve the overflow at the South Texas border town of Del Rio and deter more Haitians from trying to come to the U.S. states illegally. Human rights groups and some Democratic lawmakers opposed the plan. The administration said it will accelerate the pace and increase the capacity of deportations to Haiti as well as other countries in the next 72 hours. The plan does not detail the number of people on each plane or how migrants will be processed before being placed on a flight. The administration did note that families with children will be subject to expulsion, a point that had been contested in court earlier this week. In May, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas announced an 18-month temporary protected status for Haitians living in the U.S., citing serious security concerns, social unrest, an increase in human rights abuses, crippling poverty, and a lack of basic resources, which are exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The status provides a work permit and stay of deportation to foreign nationals who apply and qualify. The number of migrants in Del Rio has surged in the past week. Del Rio Mayor Bruno Lozano said more than 14,000 Haitians are camping out under a bridge and waiting processing, CNN reported. To alleviate the pressure on resources and the growing surge in Del Rio, the Department of Homeland Security said that it had closed support, beefed up staffing by more than 400, and that it would send additional staff if necessary. NRP.org is the source. As far as the commentary pertaining to this, see, if the wall was already built, we wouldn't have this problem, no matter who's trying to come in, demographic, Hispanic, Haitian, it doesn't matter. When you look at the map of the USA, you will see where Mexico borders Texas. Under Mexico is water, a lot of water. And down below Florida lies Haiti. So what I have to ask myself is, how in God's name did they get from Haiti to Mexico, then crawled into, walked through the Del Rio, which is ankle deep or so, depending if the water is not, risen high. How did they get there? Because if America is flying them back, come on now. If America is flying them back, then how the hell did they get here? I've been sitting here trying to question this myself. How in the world did these people get across that water up to Mexico, up to southern Texas? Because Mexico sits under Texas. Under Texas is water. Way below is Haiti. You understand what I'm saying? So how did they get there? 14,000, 15,000 people. 15,000 what I saw on the NBC News this evening. So no matter what number, it's in the thousands and it's vastly. How did they get there? Now we have the government flying them back, unless they have children. And then I have a friend who made a comment this evening saying he's trying to understand, well, if they're going to fly the Haitians back, why are you choosing that group to fly back and you're letting people from Afghanistan come into the country? Well, one could say, well, because of what we were doing in Afghanistan as of late, that's why they are helping some of those said civilians come to freedom here in the U.S. Everything's up for interpretation. But it is sad, yes, that these people have fled a far, far way to try to get freedom, try to get equality, try to avoid further famine, atrocities to human rights, said rights of a human. But now they're going back to where they came from. And that is the ultimate cruelty. Travel a long way to get to freedom, to only be flown back via an airplane to where you were running from. One could say that's a very cruel joke. Indeed it is. But we have to have laws and we have to have regulations, because no matter how you feel about either side of the coin, there's no way in hell America could afford to house 15,000 people and get them said care, food, toiletries, when we are still in a pandemic state. More people are getting the virus. There are new strains of the virus floating around. More people are being admitted into the hospital. More people are sick. More people are dying. Children are dying. Adults are dying. Elderly are dying. It's serious out here. Still, there are people out of work. Still, there are people to be forced out their homes, apartments, duplexes, condos for non-payment of rent. Some of us can't find new places to move to because they can't put certain people out because they're waiting to take them to court. As you see, We are in dire straits here in the U.S. So basically, we can't afford anything extra on our plate as far as handing out resources. That's common sense. And it's not to be cruel or biased or judgmental, but it's common sense. We are in dire straits ourselves. And we're known to help others, but it is time that America worries about its own. Because we are in a bad state right now. Because as you go into stores, the price of food has gone up. The price of meat has gone up. There are people still out of work. There's still not enough drivers to drive the trucks to get our said goods to the said locales in order for us to purchase items. And I just heard that the Dollar Tree will now be the Dollar Tree Plus. I learned that on Sunday when I was patronizing the store. An item was $3, a little bitty skull, for Halloween. And I thought, wow, is this true? $3? I see a sticker. She said, yes, we're changing over. Haven't changed the logo yet. So some of you Dollar Tree fans, get ready. You will now be spending more than $1 for your items in the said Dollar Tree. So you see, we have our own problems here in America. And with the storm of Ida and the other storm thereafter, people suffering in New York, New Jersey, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, we have a lot of problems currently. So the migration of 15,000 people, yes, indeed, would put us in a dire situation with our state government as far as housing, food, resources. Prayers for these people trying to get to this country, because I know that would be a ultimate blow to travel thus far and then only have to be flown back to a land that you were dying to get out of. That's the sad information. When I get more of an update, I will bring you an update pertaining to this said storyline. This is by NPR if you need verification for the story. Another story that came across my information desk, which is the most horrific and crazy story I have seen thus far. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this guy, but this is a very, very crazy story I came across. I don't have an update pertaining to this story, but I'm going to bring it to you. 1 second. True Crime Daily is the source. Man allegedly threw girlfriend's daughter off balcony because she was full of bad spirits. A man was arrested this week after he allegedly threw his girlfriend's 5-year-old daughter off a balcony because he believes she was full of bad spirits. Clark County inmate records show Jarek Willis, was charged with attempted murder and child abuse or neglect resulting in bodily harm. According to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which cites the arrest report, police responded to a call in an apartment complex on Boulder Highway at 4:45 p.m. Sunday and found a young girl who landed face first onto the gravel after being thrown from the 3rd floor. Police reportedly said Willis was visiting his girlfriend's residence for the first time that weekend. First time. KLAS-TV identified Willis's girlfriend as Angela Matthews. According to the arrest report cited by KLAS, Matthews said she and Jarek practiced and believed in African spirituality, and on Saturday, Jarek started talking about how he believed the daughter was full of bad spirits. Matthews reportedly told him to stop talking about her daughter in that way. Willis has allegedly apologized, but later mentioned he believed the little girl was a demon. One of Matthews' other children reportedly started screaming, and Matthews saw Jarek leaning over the balcony. The Review-Journal reports she told police Willis allegedly dragged her daughter by her hair and then threw her off. Willis reportedly got in the shower, and Matthews allegedly retrieved a gun because she was in fear for her life and her children's lives, KSNV-TV reports. Willis allegedly tried fighting for control of the gun as she fired it. KLAS reports Willis jumped off the balcony, naked and bleeding. KSNV reports Willis was transported to a hospital with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. According to the Review-Journal, the little girl suffered a fractured pelvis, forearm, leg, and rib. She also reportedly has a collapsed lung and lacerated liver, as well as a possible fracture to her sternum. KSNV reports the 5-year-old victim was last known to be in stable condition, but is still in the pediatric ICU. So, out in Las Vegas, this said fool, Jarek Willis, has been arrested for throwing a 5-year-old child over the balcony that he deemed to be a demon. He and the mother, it says, this is so crazy. Try to make sure I get it correct. Practice and believe in African spirituality. And on Saturday, he started saying how he believed the child was full of bad spirits. So he drugged the child by her hair and threw her over the balcony. And it is believed, he had went to take a shower, was going to reach for his clothes from another article, went into another room to try to retrieve some clothes. And I guess the mommy went and got a gun. Amen to her. First of all, what I have to say about this. Ooh, so many things. First of all, where did she meet him? Did she know him through a friend, associate, date site? How did she meet him? It says this was his first time to her house. So this is what we have to ask ourselves. When you say they were practicing or believed in African spirituality, what are we talking about? Are we talking about hoodoo? What are we talking about? Because happens it on the first day, somebody comes to your house you don't know, and now they're throwing your child over the damn balcony because he believes she's a demon. I'll wait. And then you go get a gun and shoot him. And he jumps over the balcony naked and bleeding. Did y'all get that? Huh? First time in her house, a man is throwing her child over a balcony, where she could have died. Child is currently in ICU, 5 years old. A brother is screaming and hollering inside of the home when all this shenanigans is popping off. Scared for his life as well. I don't know how old this other said child is. And the mother is able to get a gun and shoot the suspect. Wondered he didn't die from the gunshot and jumping off the balcony as well. This is a crazy story. People are out of control. Absolutely out of control. I want to make sure I get it correct, this balcony, because I believe it was a 3rd floor. So, this is crazy to me. Because it says, one of Matthew's other children reportedly started screaming, and Matthew saw Jerry leaning over the balcony. She told police Willis allegedly dragged her daughter by her hair and then threw her off. And then he had the nerve that after throwing her child over the balcony, he goes and take a shower like it's nothing. Okay, let me dust myself off. And then she goes and retrieves a gun. And they fight for the gun. And she fired it. And then he obviously goes and runs and jumps off the balcony, naked and bleeding, and has been arrested for this said crime of the throwing the 5-year-old over the balcony. What the hell is going on out here? Every day I bring you more mischief and mayhem pertaining to people in general, children, women, and men. This is atrocious because, as I stated, how did she meet him? Because this article states this is his first time going to her home. So how is it you have let a stranger in your house and now the stranger is throwing your child over the balcony because he believes she's a demon? So what we have to ask ourselves, what were they doing before he grabbed the child? Were they talking African scriptures, African talk, African voodoo, African what? What made him grab the child? What was the child saying? What was the child doing? Or are we talking about a schizophrenic? Has nothing to do with African proverbs, African culture, African nothing. He's just crazy as hell, and he took advantage of the situation. Is he diabolical or is he schizophrenic? Which is it? This is atrocious. Now she has to live with the fact that her child is in the ICU and that some strange man she let inside of her home tried to kill her child. That's the gist of the story. That she let a stranger into her home who tried to kill her child. That's a heavy blow to the spirit. And to sleep on at night. To know you willingly let a stranger in your house who tried to kill your child. You see, you don't know people. You don't know the people that you're dating, sleeping with, on and off relationships, married. All the stories you hear are of people who know each other, dated, married, just met, on and off relationships, fly by night, hookups, all type of scenarios. But in the end, the moral is the same. You don't know people. And this case is evident. She did not know the stranger she let into her house. And fortunately for she had a gun. Because who's to say who else he would have tried to throw over the balcony? This is horrific. And thank God no one else was injured inside of this home. Prayers to this little child as she survives. Prayers for this small 5-year-old girl child. Prayers for this mother and her other children. When I get an update to this story, I will surely bring it to you. This is bad. 3-part compilation. Haitians migrated to America, being flown back to Haiti. Update on the Rittenhouse trial. Evidence being suppressed pertaining to his past altercations. And this horrific story out of Nevada of a man throwing a 5-year-old girl child over a balcony and then being shot by the said mother and jumping over the balcony himself. And he has been arrested. That is the said information. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. God bless you. Thank you for all new subscribers, new visitors. Amen. Almost at 9,000 subscribers. God is good. Thank you so much for following the content, sharing the content. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you. Have a great night.